Hello, everybody. Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, wherever you are in the world. My name is Darren from Watercolor Mentor, and welcome to today's workshop. So I hope the audio and the video is up to scratch this morning. I've done a few tests to make sure that it's all running good. I've actually moved the microphone a bit closer to my head as well, so it might make it easier for you guys to hear what's going on. I tend to move around a bit during the demonstrations, so sometimes I sort of cut in and out, but this should be good. There's a message from Minor in the chats saying no sound. I hope you can hear me okay. Let me know. Let me know how the audio and the video is from your end, guys. And it's good to see that there's so many people in the chats. Just drop a message in there and let me know where you're from. Maybe something that you're wanting to get out of today's session as well. Maybe it could be a particular topic, or something like painting figures. Could be color mixing, and I'll try to address that as well. So how these sessions run essentially that I just talk a lot, as you can tell, but I'll go through the entire demonstration live. We'll go through the drawing, the painting, and if you have any questions during the demonstration, just let me know in the chats. Now, yeah, basically you see the video, and then on the right hand side there's a little text box that you can write a comment. So don't be afraid. Drop something in there, and yeah, even chat amongst yourselves as well. I have a couple of screens up, and I'm looking from left to right, just making sure that I've got all the questions and things covered. Morning, Margaret. Good to see you, Margaret from Melbourne. We've also got Yvette on YouTube, Pamela Meredith here as well, Sonal. Good to see you guys again. And we've got Joy Gabales. Quite a few people on Facebook actually, and I thought I'd stream. I thought I'd stream during a weekday this time in the morning for me anyway. Maybe a few different people on board. So Selena's asking, what colors are you using? So for the colors today, really, if we look at the reference photo, a bit of cerulean blue for the sky, for the foreground, a bit of darker blue, so ultramarine blue. I'm also going to be using some yellow in the, because it looks like there's a lot of seaweed in rocks and stuff like that here, but I just want to change it up to make it look a bit more warmer. Okay, the background, you can see there's some green in the trees, some darker green. You can mix that up, even if you've got a blue and a yellow, you can mix that up. Pretty much for the rest of it, that's, yeah, I mean, we've got some white on the houses, which I think I'll just leave as the paper. Maybe a tiny bit of brown. Having a look through, really, it's the more important thing is making sure you've got the right tone. So whether it's the right level of light or darkness on specific elements. I've also got a little tube of gouache, this stuff here. So it's opaque color, and I use it right at the end of my demonstrations. Here are some of my paintings. For some of you guys who have not been here before, I thought I'd just pull out a few of these paintings. If you also hang around near the end, I'm going to show you some really cool landscapes that I've been painting recently. Some larger cityscapes in another course that I've been just building. These are a few other bits and pieces that I've painted in the past. Some of you guys may have come along to these sessions, these little sketches that we did live. And let me see if I can find another one. There we go. There's another one. These ones don't take too long to do. That one there as well. So those are kind of what you'll be expecting in terms of today's session. Okay, just a lot of these smaller sort of paintings, but essentially we'll cover my entire process. We'll go through how to draw and translate a reference photo onto a bit of paper as well, which is really important. These are some of the previous ones. That one was from last week, I think. Was it? No, not last week, a few weeks ago. And these are a bunch of these other ones I've done, and you can see the style that I have is a very loose kind of style. I don't get too bogged down with the details. I make sure I've got enough details in there. But over the years that I've been painting, I've found basically developed a process that just allows me to paint faster, and I try to just imply what's going on in there. So most of these take between 30 minutes to probably an hour and a half max, and the ones here about an hour. Okay, the paintings that I spend an hour and a half to 2 hours on, they just tend to have a bit more detail on them. So if you hang around right to the end, I'll show you some of those, and I'll give you some special tips on on how to get in these fine details as well. Even with this one here, I spent a tiny bit more time. You can see just in the back like that. So this is just a bit of a taste in terms of like my style. Okay, it does vary from bit, some of them look a little bit more detailed. Okay, but I love to use stark contrasts in my scene, or a strong sense of light, and I like to kind of blend elements together. So making sure that the sky connects with the background and that connects with the ground. I find ways to bring it together. A lot of times when I started painting in watercolors, that was one of my biggest challenges, just making sure things didn't look too stuck on. When you get a nice watercolor painting, it seems like everything it's like you've just thrown the paint on there and it's just landed in the right places, and there's nice merging, but you can still see elements where it should be separated. So and that's another example here. So I was actually going to do a quick sketch of today's of today's reference quickly, just to get myself into the swing of things again. I've not done a line and wash scene for quite some time, and I think for some of you guys, it might be good practice for you to understand in terms of the sketching process what goes through my head. And this is just going to be a really quick one, more to iron out the composition. Okay, so I'll just go through quickly the chats, because there's some questions. Someone's asking about the reference, Serena. So I'll just pop the link to the reference in the chat. Just click on that link, Serena, and you'll be able to find the the references. Okay, I'm making the reference pretty small in the stream because it just gets overwhelming and covers my palette. I think you guys would rather see the palette, but have the reference up on the side of the screen. I got two versions of the reference. One that's zoomed out, which is the one I'm mainly going to be using, and then there's one that's zoomed in, and that's just to give you a larger view of the buildings, a zoomed in view of the buildings in the background, because they can be a little bit tricky to draw in. Lily says, hi Darren, I'm in Melbourne, just cut my finger, so I'm only using one hand. That's tricky. Hopefully it's the right, I hope it's the dominant hand, so you're not learning to paint with your other hand, Lily. It's watercolor's challenging enough when you using the right hand. Good to see Anne Francis here in the chat. It's one of my students. Selena, hope I answered your question accurately enough with the colors. Again, like, just make sure that you've got your primary colors: red, blue, and yellow. Jeez, multitasking. The best. So I'm just going to draw a little quick sketch, and guys, this is not the actual scene it's that I'm going to be painting on. It's just me trying to figure out and suss out some of these things going on in here, especially these buildings out in the background as well. So what we've got like there's the horizon line. We can about 1/3 of the way in from the top of the scene. Okay, so horizon line is basically the area where the sky meets the earth, and I've basically just put that right at the bottom of the mountains. Okay, so about 1/3 of the way through the scene, and that's how I divide things up. And we've got boats. Look, I'm just scribbling in a few bits and pieces here. Okay, playing around and thinking to myself, well, maybe I can have some boats receding into the background. Maybe I could have a larger one here or something like that, closer to the scene. All this debris and stuff here. Here's this kind of wall. running off in the distance. It's kind of smaller than this. These houses, you know, a little bit tricky to draw actually, but look at them. They're just these kind of triangle shapes like that. There you go. There's a set of them. There's a car here, you know, just a quick little scribble in there. Okay, rooftop like that. Another house here. The light is coming in from the left of the scene, and so you're kind of getting a bit of shadow cast like that. What else do we have here? We've got, you know, this building is a nightmare. Look at all these bits and pieces on the roof here. This is going to keep you occupied for a while. They kind of just overlap like that. Okay, just getting myself into the swing of things before we actually get started. The rest of them are pretty easy. I mean, you've got it's just a triangle like that, and then the rooftop there. Okay, so you know this is just a quick little exercise in terms of composition, thinking about what you want to put in there. There's barely anything in here anyway, but it's just to get me to loosen up a touch. Oh, this is interesting. It's like a kind of step thing that goes up. Might have some figures. I was thinking about this before, having some figures here in the foreground. Whether I have them closer or a little bit further away, you know, like this might be better, leading into the scene. And again, that light source with the shadows moving towards the right like this. Might have some rocks and things here, but most of this I kind of want to get it in with more, just a bit more yellow in here, you know, because I've figured that I think it's just going to look better with some yellow, but it's up to you. You can just get it in darker if you'd like, completely fine. And that's why you call it a reference photo, so you can change things around. You know, this is the background thingamo. And how wide you want the scene as well is something of a consideration. You know, I did put in the much wider reference photo. So we've got darkness in the background. Quick little sketch, and this, you wouldn't believe how much this helps. This is my kind of secret to just fast tracking your painting. These little sketches and compositional elements, okay? And I use this to kind of guide my proper painting, okay? And you know, today's going to be a line and wash session because I know a lot of you were asking me to do a line and wash one because I haven't done them for a long time. And so if you're just wanting to learn watercolors today, you don't need to actually use any of these pens. I've got a whole bunch of these pens. You can actually just go in with the pencil and paint as per normal. The difference with line and wash though is that the lines show through afterwards in the end. So that's a difference. You're going to see the line work, whereas with pencils, no, you don't really see the pencil work afterwards. So question by Jeannie, what lead do you use to do your drawings? I think this is a 1.3mm lead. It's a pretty thick lead, and it's also, I think, a 4B or something. It's a darker color, and it's just more efficient because if I don't want anything too dark, I'll just draw lighter, and then I've got that darkness to get in extra extra tonality if I want as well. And the thicker lead just forces me to work on the big shapes and not get too bogged down with tiny little details. Details are important, that's for sure, but you know, I want to make sure that the drawing is accurate, but it doesn't form the basis of this whole thing that we're doing. Now, obviously, with pen and wash, using pen work, the lines are going to form more of an emphasis in this scene. Okay, and that's one of the features of line and wash, pen and ink, whatever you'd like to call it. But yeah, if you're just working with your pencil, that's all good. Let me have a look. How are you guys doing? Have you got along with this little exercise? Let me know, because we're going to start with the drawing now. And really, what I want to do here is just get in again, just guiding lines, and then I'm going to go in with the pens after. Okay, so let me just move it a bit to the left. And again, let's start off with the top section, about a third of the way into the scene here. And there's actually so much detail with all the boats and things, and I really think I'll cut off part of that, move it in, but I still have a bit of the left-hand side of the scene showing through. I'm going very lightly here, okay, because I'm going to actually go over the top with this in some pen afterwards. Okay, now same sort of thing goes as before, so I will just maybe put in around about here. If we look at where this wall, it's kind of like a wall next to the water. Probably just stops the water from going in and flooding um, that area. But you can see it kind of starts about here to the mid left. Okay, about here. So I'm just going to put in a little emphasis there of this side of the wall. You've got this interesting bit here that's like a ramp. You see that's like a ramping area where I guess people walk up and down, like that. Some stairs maybe here. No, not really. It's just completely flat. There we go. Something like that. And then you've got this area here, and it's basically the road. Cars back in that distance there. That's all you need. Um, and of course, like a little bit of the actual wall itself here. Okay. And, we can go in and just pencil in some quick boundaries and some quick areas for the houses and things like that. Um, Sue's saying, love the placement guide as a cheat sheet. Yeah, and when you look at the scene, you can often, especially in a scene like this, a lot of people did reply to the reference and say it's just so complicated, and it is complicated, but when you do the drawing, that's the whole process of you simplifying the shapes, and learning that process is so important, because with every reference photo, unless you're just taking a photo of a house or something like that, it's very, very complicated. There's so much going on in there, and it's a skill to be able to look at a reference photo, no matter how complicated, pick out the elements that you want, find that light source, simplify it down, and get it on in a drawing. And in the absence of the reference photo, when you look at your painting, it's actually going to make sense. But when you have that reference photo right next to your painting, it's often, you can be hard on yourself. You look at that photo and you think, geez, it doesn't even look anything like it. But give it some time away from your painting, come back to it, and it actually starts looking pretty good. Glenda's saying, I barely see your reference picture. So the reference is, I've actually uploaded it in a separate page, Glenda. I'm just going to paste that reference link in the discussion in the chats. If you can have a look at that, it's just under my page name, Watercolor Mentor. Actually, let me just reply to your. It's just so slow. It's not letting me do it. I did paste that in there, Glenda. The reason I don't put a large version of it, in the stream is just takes up too much of the room, and then you can't see my palette later on. Okay. What lead do you use to do your drawing? Oh, I've already answered that question. That's good. And Yvette saying exercise good to warm up. Okay, so far we've got this wall in. And actually, one thing I've realized, this wall is actually kind of a bit bigger and comes in on a bit of an angle like that. Okay. And just quickly put that in like that. Kind of just slopes down, doesn't it? Okay. And the reason why it does that is because it's getting closer to us. So in terms of perspective, when objects get closer, they get larger as well. So you notice this boat here right in the front is bigger than the boats in the back. You have to make sure you imply that with your drawing. You can't have a tiny little boat here. It's not going to make sense. Or you put a tiny little person here. Everything in the front has to be bigger than the stuff in the back. Even when you look at the houses get smaller as in the distance they start to recede. Okay, I'm going to stop mucking around here. Let's get in these two bits of the houses like that. Okay, I'm really trying my best not to get bogged down. It happens quite often when I just get so into the detailing part of things that I lose the picture, the big picture of what I'm trying to do. This is a car, okay? Just a quick little, it's just a box on wheels. If you can draw a box, you can draw a car, okay? A little shadow underneath the car like that. I mean, this is probably a little bit bigger than how it should be, but doesn't matter. You can see there's some boats here as well. And the pencil work here is not really forming the basis of the scene, but it is creating a structure so that I can get the line working with the pen afterwards. Okay, let's put in another boat here. I can't even really see what this boat looks like, but we can take the general structure of it like that. I mean, sometimes it could be a fishing boat or something like that. There's the top of it. Here's another one right next to it. It's like quite a smaller boat as well, like that. You're just trying to pick out the few bits and pieces that you want to imply in these boats. And remember, as you get back into the distance, they just become smaller and smaller. Okay, so don't make them too big in the background. Okay, these little masts going up, and there's actually this really, look at that. There's a boat that's kind of on its side, and I like that. Kind of changes things up a bit. Yeah, no. Let me just try to get that on in a bit better. Okay, it's kind of like a boat on its side, and this one here, I'm just making a bit bigger. The idea is that I want it to come forwards a bit into the scene. There's actually quite a few out there, but that's enough, sufficient enough anyway for me to continue on. Another thing you can do is perhaps get in another boat here. Okay, let me just put it in like that. I don't know, maybe something here. Composition wise, I always try to change a bit up. Okay, if I can get some boats in that are just a bit bigger or more kind of in the foreground like that, it creates this sense of depth in the scene. Okay, now we're going to put in, I don't know, just a little indication of where the water starts. Okay, like this is just a guiding line for me, that something like that. Yeah, the figure, I'm gonna put a person here. I'm avoiding those buildings in the background. We'll get to them in a moment. Here's a person. Okay, we'll get the person in with some pen afterwards. Um, it's up to you. You can put another one here even. Tiny, tiny little figure just walking into the back in the distance like that. Um, this could be two people walking like that, and subject to change as well. You can fiddle around with this as much as you want later. Just trying to get in something to start off with. And again, the shadows, I'm kind of thinking to myself, how do I want these shadows to appear? Do I want them to kind of go off on a slight angle towards the back, or even towards the front? I think having them like on a slight angle towards the front like this might be nice, like that. Makes it look more interesting. And the boats in the background as well, these little shadows we can get in with the boats. Okay, whether I want to put one in here or not, yeah, get a bit. I do go overboard sometimes with these boats. I love putting them in. I'll put this one in just for the sake of it. Okay, just to show you that we've got a larger one here in the foreground, and you can change things up. Okay, don't feel like you, just because it's not in the reference photo doesn't mean you can't add it in. Okay, let's get back into these buildings off in the distance like that. Let's get in the side of this house. Oops, like this. And again, triangle, just a triangle shape like that. Yeah, the top of it like this. I'm simplifying. There's actually a lot of stuff on the house itself. I mean, if you look at it, there's little chimneys and all kinds of things in there. But if we spend all day doing that, we're not going to have much fun at all. So simplify down, and these cars just become boxes essentially. There's this longer house, this one that kind of spooked me a bit before with all the detail on the top of it. Okay, but look at that. Just put it in there. You can just get in the rooftop first. The side of the house is kind of like, this triangular shape like that. There, comes down like this. Okay, then we've got in this longer rooftop like that. Okay, and that just comes down. How far is this? Well, I'm also just measuring roughly how far along it is, and it's not completely accurate what I've drawn. You can see here the house, this longer house with these 6 and what you call them, things on the roof. It actually starts roughly here, but the scene is so wide, and I also want to condense this down a little bit. So we can shift that there. There's another one here. Look at that, just kind of in the distance. Simplification again. A couple more. Maybe I just extend this out like this. Extend out that wall like that. And a couple more. And this is important to just make these smaller. And if we make them smaller, then it's going to push them back into the distance. Okay. Like that. Couple little houses. Okay. These look a bit more simple. Like that. Okay. If you haven't got everything in perfect at this stage, don't worry. Remember, this is just a quick sketch. Righto, so extend that wall out a touch there as well. I'm going to go in and just get in this little, what do you call it, this little bit of mountain or whatever in the background. There's also this bit here. Okay, something like that. Simplify down. And let's get to work with the pen. And the aircon's pretty hot today in Melbourne. Down up to 30 degrees Celsius. So, how are you doing, guys? Okay, good to hear you found it, Glenda. Deb says I have the hardest time simplifying, and yeah, that's something that everyone struggles with as a painter, especially when they start off. I still struggle with it because what you're doing is that you're training your eyes, your mind, essentially, to recognize shapes, because when we look at a reference photo, we don't see shapes naturally. We see a house. We interpret what we see, in the lens of just houses or people, or that's a tree. But if you actually look into the shape of a tree or the shape of a house, you can find shapes. It's a trapezoid, triangle, rectangle, kind of a rectangle there. So, that's the easiest way that I can explain it to you. Train yourself to see shapes, and it takes time. To do that. I have a bunch of classes as well, which show you how to do it. But it just takes a bit of practice, and the sketching helps a lot. Okay. Any other questions, everyone? Shanolan, good to see you. Good evening, Shanolan. What time is it for you at the moment? Is this time a good time for you guys? I mean, obviously you're here watching, so but if there's a better time, let me know. I did survey people a while ago, but it's been a while since I've done that. Okay, pen. Now, in the materials, I did specify all you need is a 0.5 pen, just 1.5 pen. This one is just worked down to a tiny little thing like that. I've used it too often. So what you want is, just a 0.5 pen. If you've got a 0.7 even, that's fine. Okay. I do use a whole bunch of them because I got a set of these pens sent to me by that company. But otherwise, it's not necessary. So let's go in straight into the line work. And here I'm just getting in the house. Normally speaking, generally speaking, if you've got stuff in the background, you want to make it, you want to use a thinner liner. So this is a 0.3 liner. Okay, it's not a huge deal. Okay, but I'll try to just use one. And you can see here just going through, and we're outlining again these bits and pieces for the car. The car here. Made the wheel too big, should be like that. Okay, that's a car there. Um, there. Put in the rooftop of this one here. Okay, I've actually put this car in the wrong spot. It should be a little bit further up the page, but we'll just go with that. The road is actually here. Okay, so try to line those areas. Line those areas that are most obvious first. Okay, I'm going to put this little ramp or whatever it is in here. We know the wall just goes all the way through the scene like this. Yeah. And the benefit of doing the drawing first is that you now don't run into the risk of cutting over the top of the figures. Okay, so here's a couple of the figures, and again, simplification. The head's kind of like a rectangular oval shape. Got the legs here. Just quick little things, just triangles, I guess, to the ground. A couple of figures. Not happy with that car, but I'll fix it up later. Okay, like that. And you see like the cars in the background kind of just overlap with everything in front of the houses. So we can just put in some little details there. Okay. Yeah, that car's too far up. Let me just scratch that out like that. There we go. I can just make it shorter there. And there we go. We've kind of fixed it. Rooftop of that house. I'll separate this out a touch like that as well. You can see in the house there's actually quite a few little details in there. Okay. And depending on how much detail you want in this scene, this is up to you. Like, you just spend more time on the drawing if you want more detail. For this demonstration, I don't want to spend too much time on it. I just want to show you the basics. Okay. But in some cases you might want extra detail on the top of the houses and get in the tiny intricacies that we have in there. Okay, but for this one, I think we'll play it simple. I mean, look at all these tiny little things on the roof. I mean, you can sit here all day and do this. Just connect on, like that. And again, it's up to you what you want to do with that. Okay. Let's just get in the main structure of it. Important thing, because we want to have some of the shadow on that right hand side. Okay, there. So we've got a whole, like a row of these houses, and the rooftops. Put in the rooftop like that. Okay, just bring that down. And a couple of these other ones here in the background as well. I tend to do more watercolors these days because I just find it faster. And believe it or not, I'm actually quite impatient when painting. I always try to find ways to do things more efficiently. So let's go and get in this wall. Just trying to get it in like that. There we go. Good. This stuff here we can fix up later with a bit of gouache or something. We're just outlining all the bits and pieces, all the little bits and pieces here. Okay, in pen. Come down. Okay, and the pen work will show through and form the basis of what the scene is afterwards. Okay, something like that. Okay, a little line in the background. So let's have a look. Some more details on the boats. Okay, there's one. Here's one, and we've got more here. This is where you can just take more time to get in the details of the boats. Okay, and don't worry about these sails as well. You can put in just a little indication of where they are, but we'll do a lot of them in gouache, a bit of like opaque watercolor afterwards. Okay, just mainly work on the structure of them. That's your main purpose in terms of getting in these boats. Here's some on the shore. No, look at that. Just getting in more of these boats. That's kind of like a larger one. There, maybe just finishes off like here, behind that figure. Overlapping shapes are really important, I think, with watercolors, or not watercolors, but just paintings and scenes like this in general, because they create a sense of depth and they just make things look a bit more three-dimensional when you've got shapes that overlap with each other. Okay, they're just boats there. I mean, look, there's even some off here that I roughly put in before. So we can just get a bit of that. There's a figure here. Okay, just a bit of the detail for the legs like that. Okay. Let's have a look. What else could we do? Sometimes you get rocks and things here, and little bits of seaweed. So tiny little details like that. Just see if I can get in some the clothing for the figures and some more detail for the arms and things like that. So one advantage of pen and wash is that you can spend more time on the actual drawing and get in some details, and that just saves you time later with the watercolors, so that you don't need to get it in as much. So looking around, it's looking pretty decent. Doesn't look like much at the moment, mind you, but we will add some more details in afterwards. Some of this stuff here is just to kind of remind me that's a car or something in there, or whatever detail I want to add in. You can't see, I mean, you can see a little bit of the shadow under that car, but apart from that, there's not much going on in there. Up in the top as well, we can get in some details with the watercolors. So I think that's good to go. I'm gonna rub out some of that previous pencil stuff. I've got a kneadable eraser, and just makes it easy to just go over and get rid of that. Now, if you can't get rid of all of it, it's no problem at all. Okay, it just makes it a little bit cleaner. I have another eraser. Maybe this one will be better. Yeah, that's much better. Okay, and I've deliberately not lined some areas like the water here in the foreground, because I want it to be more soft. I want the watercolors to play a role here as well. Okay, And again, it's your style that you essentially want in this scene. Some people prefer to have more of the line work show through. I know I used to be that way. Now I'm not. Um, so yeah, I want there to be some proper lines on here, but still give me a bit of wiggle room for some soft effects, some soft watercolor effects. Okay, pretty simple, right? Pretty simple drawing. And at this point, you might think to yourself, I don't know how this is going to turn into a painting. I don't know how this is going to work, but you've got to have faith in yourself. Okay. And remember, we've only just started. So, another thing, have I put some quickly while I can? I'll just pick up my little pen here, and I'll just put in a bit of this line in the background. It just separates everything out. Now, this is a bit of a fun thing. You don't have to do this, but if you've got if you want to put in the shadows, you can actually do something like that with another pen. Okay, this is a thicker sort of pen that I have, and this allows me just to get in some darker shadows. But you can also use a normal pen, okay, and just takes longer, okay. This is a way to I guess create a sense of shadow, and I don't know, gets in a bit of this detail, tiny bit of this detail before I go in with the watercolors. This is the fun part. I love putting in these little shadows and things. It's just a little touch of darkness in here, but you know, it really makes a difference, as you can see, you know, like that. Gives me more of a indication of where everything is going. The light source, oops, remember to keep the darks on the right hand side of these figures if you're gonna do anything. And also, don't feel you have to do, put the shadows in all right now. Just putting in some of them for the car and that kind of thing. Like that car, I wasn't too happy with it before because I stuffed it. I'd put it too further down, but you can hardly tell now. No one knows. Okay, and the most important thing is to just keep going. Don't let anything stop you, and scrunch up your bit of paper and think to yourself that I've stuffed it. Just keep on going. The process is what helps you to improve. It's not all the wins, but it's all the times where things don't actually work out, where you learn the most. Yeah, there are little shadows here even for the boats, because although they're partially on water, they're also those ones are in the back, but these ones are sitting on like tiny bits of land and rocks and stuff like that. So you can tell now, it looks quite obvious in terms of the light source. Okay, the light source it kind of gives me a bit of a guide. Okay, a little bit of a guide. And you might put in a larger rock here or something. Change it around and just have a bit of fun. Tiny ones here or something like that. Okay, these, believe it or not, they help to create a sense of depth in the scene. I'm just making this up. I don't even have a reference for these rocks. Just putting some here in the foreground. Okay, notice how they're getting larger as well, and that's how you get that sense of depth, sense of perspective, decreasing the size of things as they move back. Look at these rocks. They're just tiny. They're just little blips like that. That's what you want in there. You don't want gigantic boulders back there, unless there, of course, that there is a large boulder back there. Okay. Even on top, I mean, you start to notice all the little details, and again, it's just up to you what you wanna do. But I've noticed there is actually a little building up the top there, and I'll put it in hesitantly, because I know if I given the opportunity, I will just start detailing everything. Couple little small indications of houses and stuff in the distance like that. Just making it look like things are getting smaller. There is a road here, I've just noticed. I think we're just going to avoid that. Okay, drawing done. Let me know how you're doing. Write me a message in the chats, and if you have questions as well, drop something in the chats. And for those of you who haven't been here before, if you want to see more of these demonstrations, I've actually got a Patreon. You can find that in the description, with hundreds and hundreds of videos that are separate from the ones I do live here, and I go into a lot more detail. So you can check that out. It helps support me. It helps support me as an artist. I do all these demos for free. They're good fun for me, and Patreon's just a way for me to get out some premium content. And here, okay, so let's get started, guys. Quickly just check the chats and how everyone is going. Neria says started sketching in pencil. Okay, getting there. Just take your time. Loretta's here as well, and some people. Okay, so evening works well for people. I asked the question before: what time is best for me to run these sessions? So thank you for that. Loretta says good afternoon. Got logged in. Yvonne says going well. I'd already sketched it, but closer to the houses you gave me. You gave me confidence to add vehicles. Haven't painted ocean before. Great. We'll learn how to do it today and try to get in some nice soft gradations in here. Okay. Carmen Molina says, for me, it's a great time. Okay, so this time is good. Normally, I can't do them around this time, but this week is different. Freddie says this time is great. Fantastic. Alrighty. I'm just going through the questions and seeing how you guys are doing. Okay. I think we're going to get started with the painting. Okay, so let me just show you what I've got in my palette. I haven't cleaned out my palette, so it's looking like a mess right now. Can I just zoom out a touch? And would you prefer that I have the palette visible here, or do you just want me to zoom in on the painting itself? Because I find that having the palette there gives you a bit of benefit knowing how I mix the colors. Okay, the camera quality, the picture quality is generally pretty good, so I think you should be able to still see everything quite well, in good contrast, sharpness, even if I've got the palette here in the side. Okay, so brushes, got some of this towel, so I use a little towel as well on the side. Let me just shift my camera. See, little towel there on the side, and that helps me to alter the how much water is on the brush, which is really important because you don't want too much water on the brush in some parts. To start off with, I'm going to use a small. Oh, you know what? I need to get some water first. Okay, a little bit of water. Rookie mistake. Got everything set up besides the water. Okay, so let me go through the colors, and I'll start a little bit. Reference photos in the way. Here I've got a bit of quinacridone yellow. I've got yellow ochre. This is what I think we'll be using mostly, that one. These are a couple of oranges. This here is pyrrole red. I've got some color here. This is called buff titanium. It's basically like a off-white color. This is actually pretty good as well. I'll use some of that for this scene. And I'm already thinking what colors I'm going to be using. So like a muted yellow ochre. This buff titanium, which is, yeah, like a off-white. You can sometimes use a bit of gouache or just a normal bit of white mixed in with a touch of yellow. You can get a nice creamy yellow color. Cerulean blue, I'm going to need that for the sky. These colors, not going to worry about them. They're just like a bit of turquoise. And ultramarine blue, that's going to be useful for the water, getting in some darker bits of water there. These are some browns. So I don't think we'll probably use some burnt sienna in here, some of the rocks, but apart from that, not really. Bit of darker green here. I'm not sure what green this is. This is just a dark green. You can use a hooker's green, olive green, undersea green by Daniel Smith. There's lots of greens that you can use. This one is just purple, a couple of purples, and these are this is neutral tint, black. So I've got a pretty simple palette. I know for some of you this might seem like a lot of colors, but I don't use all of them. I only use, I don't know, for this scene, probably about 5 or 6 colors max. And that's one of the things that a lot of companies will try to sell you, palettes that have 30 different colors in it, but you don't really need them. Big important skill for you to learn in watercolors is to mix colors. Understanding how much water goes in to create a light wash, so lots of water versus less water for darker washes, everything in between those two as well is an important skill to learn. So I'm going to pick up a small mop brush. This is a little, it's dried a bit funny, but it should have a sharp tip like that. Okay, and what I want to do here is I want to add in the warm colors. Okay. There's a quick question by Green Rumor. Sorry I'm late. What are you using as a black marker or pen? Okay, yeah. So it's a pen. So it's the same. It just comes in these set of liners. The reason why I've done this is it just makes it easier. You can actually use just a normal pen and just do the shadows that way. But it's kind of like a felt, kind of like a waterproof black felt marker. Okay, not necessary. It's just something I like doing to bring out some stark contrast. So we're going to go in and get in the background here first. And I want to work on the wall, anything that you can see that is a warm color. Let's get that in first. So all the way through like that. Okay, the proportion, the mix of paint that I'm using is mostly just water, 5-10% paint, and the rest of it water. Okay, it might surprise some of you, but that's all you need. Okay, and often the color just looks, when you start off this way, it looks kind of weak, but you got to remember we don't have any of the darker colors in yet. Okay, there we go. Bit of burnt sienna for this, and drop in a bit more of that yellow like that. Okay, and all I'm doing is just getting in the warm colors. When I say warm, I'm talking about yellows, I'm talking about browns, I'm talking about just anything around that side of the color spectrum. Away from blue is what you want. Some of these rooftops are kind of like a grayish color. I'm going to pick up a bit of black and water it down and just put in a little bit of gray on top of these rooftops. And you don't have to use that color as well. I mean, if you want, you can even just drop in some of this. This is just, again, a bit more brown, a bit of this burnt sienna. Okay, don't need to get that in. I'm going to put in, while I am here, a quick wash of purple or something on parts of the building like this. One thing you got to remember is that the light source coming in from the left, you're going to get a shadow cast on the right side of these buildings. And you want to leave the fronts of them white, and then the rest of it, get in with the cooler color. I'm using a bit of purple and blue mixed together. Be careful with this because you can mix the colors into each other and cause a bit of a mess. You can wait till afterwards, but I think it's good to practice this because that wash should kind of be dry, the roof area. So a little bit of mixing it actually looks great, and that's why I like to do this at this particular time. But being mindful of what else is in there as well. This one probably gonna have some shadows on it as well. This little house here, like that. There, look at that. Just drop that in there, okay, and try not to go back into it, again once you've got that color in. Okay, let's have a look what else we need to put in here. The ground, I did mention that we want some, basically some light in the ground. So we're going to do that. Cut around these boats a touch, and I'm just going to put in a light wash of this kind of sandy color. It's buff titanium. Okay, maybe some yellow, touch of yellow in there as well. Yellow and buff titanium creates just a nice warm color. The boats I can get in afterwards. I'm not fussed about those like that, but cutting around the figures. Okay, being quick here as well with it. Okay, and look, we also want to get in the water at the same time while this stuff is still wet. I got a little spray bottle, and this kind of helps as well. Oh, smooth that off. Looked a bit funny on the roof there. Could be rust or something. Yeah. Just drop that in there. Very light wash. We're talking mostly just water in here. And like that. Just making it a little bit more lighter than the actual reference. As you can see, there's a lot of darkness in here, but we're going to get in some of that anyway because having some contrast of lights and darks in here is going to be helpful. I've just dropped in a bit more brown up in the front here. Tiny bit of brown, like that. And, I can pick up a bit of this purplish color. What have I got? Just a bit of purple or something here, darker purple here, and just get in a few little taps of color. Okay, just picking up some of that color and just tapping it onto the paper so that it creates some of this sort of effect. Okay. Sometimes you get seaweed and stuff here in the front, so I just didn't want so much of it as it looked in the reference photo. Just too much going on before, so this is good. Just to make it more subdued. Okay. Some more yellow perhaps inside as well, just a bit more of this stuff, bit of brown. Oops, gone overboard. It's all over the place. Quick little mop up here. The rest of it doesn't matter. Okay, now while this stuff is still wet, I'll spray it just quickly. While this all is still wet, I'm going to get the water in with a small, I got my flat brush. Got a little flat brush somewhere. Yeah, little flat brush. So again, just kind of make sure that you've got all the lights and stuff that you want in here. Like I might just drop in a bit here as well. Okay, it doesn't all completely disappear, but some of these boats are kind of sitting on bits of dried up land. Okay, so a little bit of that, something in there. Just makes more sense why the boats are just sitting there on funny angles. Okay, and you can see parts of it in there as well, in the water. Okay, and what we're going to do is we're going to bring this all together I'm going to bring this all together. Quick mist over the top. Sometimes I just also like to get some little droplets of water in there to create some little blooms. Okay, bit of blue. I'm going to use some ultramarine blue. Tiny bit of ultramarine blue. And ooh, should I dull this down a little bit? Yeah, I'll mix in a bit of that gray on the palette. Okay, and we want to make sure that this color is it's pretty dark, but it's still got some transparency in it. Okay, maybe a bit of cerulean blue in there will be good. I've got dropped a touch of turquoisey color, cerulean blue, and this is what I'm doing. I'm just putting the water in while everything is still wet in this mix. And by doing it this way, we're going to get some very nice little gradations and changes from blue to yellow. Okay, and I'm not going over all the yellow as well. I'm just sort of leaving parts of it. Okay, so and then you can see also I've got some of this these little bits of white left on the paper. That's fine as well. Just leave that. You want to leave some of it in as well. Just some of it, a bit of the white on the paper. Okay, because then you can use that to create some highlights or some rocks and things like that later. Okay, it dries off so quickly. It's a hot day here in Melbourne. I'm going to switch to a bigger flat brush like this. The other one I've just been fiddling around too much, and that there. Okay, like this, and just get that color to merge with the sand. Okay, when it starts to merge, just leave it. Don't go back into it now, because you're going to be running into some issues. You want to make sure this paint is also a bit thicker. Okay, so thicker than the water, not the water, sorry, the sand wash. Like that. It's a little bit darker. Cut around the boat still. Okay. And look at that. It's just blending in nicely all the way into the back. Cut around that one. That one. There we go. There, we're almost there. Okay. Having a look at it and reassessing, looking and just seeing whether it's decent or not. I'm just putting in a few little tiny marks for like some ripples or some waves and things like that. Okay. Create a bit of extra contrast. I don't want to overdo it though. Okay. And this is what you call wet and wet work. So a lot of this stuff is while the paint's still wet, that you can get in these beautiful kind of gradations, soft effects. The only time you can do it, and I think this is one of the reasons, if not the reason, that drew me to watercolors in the first place. The softness and this effect of, I don't know, you almost just can't predict what it's gonna do, but when it dries, it just looks beautiful. I'm just dropping in some, these little bits of paint here and there to create a bit of darkness in the water in some areas. Okay, but also being careful not to overdo it. That's okay. Now let's work a bit on the background, and I will drop in some darkness. We're going to mix up really, there is green back there, so we'll put in some green, dark green, and a bit of blue or something, a bit of blue or purple, and just get in this here. Actually, this bit of the hills or whatever is not that dark. It's lighter than the stuff on the left. So let's just get it quickly in. We want to make sure though that it is darker than the houses. I'll even put in a bit of brown or something in there. No, not a problem. Okay, there. Okay, drop this in like that. That. There. Here. There. In there. There we go. Got a bit of that in. Let's do the left-hand side. I'm going to pick up some purple and green mixed together just to darken down this green a fair bit. There we go. That's really dark, and that's kind of what we're looking for, this sort of contrast. Okay. Pretty dark area. On the top, funny enough, there's a bit of light coming in there, so I can just like soften this a touch. Yeah, just soften that down a touch, get that to blend a bit like to the right, and then I can just drop in some darker paint like that, to preserve the some of the light running through here. Okay, something like this. Some more green in there. Look at that. Okay, good. In the background, there's also a little bit of green, and that here, just use a smaller brush, actually, little one like this. And I'm just going to put in a little light wash of green here in the back. Okay. Okay, time to get in the sky. I'm going to do this pretty quickly as well. Cerulean blue. Bit of cerulean blue. Like that. Okay, this is going to be the lightest part of the scene, so you don't want much in there at all. Just a very light wash of cerulean blue. And some of this is going to mix into the sky. That's okay. Just let it mix. Okay. Yeah. Like that. There we go. A little bit of that sky. And if you want, you can put in some clouds as well, some darker clouds. I think, tell you what, I'll just do it to show you how to do it. Let's have a look at the chats. Yeah, so Deb on YouTube, you're right. I'm using those Etcher professional drawing. They're called graphic drawing pens, Green Rumor. I think I took them out of the links, but you can find them on Amazon if you're interested in getting them. Let's have a look. Having a look at the chats. There's a few bits and pieces. What we'll do, I'm just going to put in, while this paint is wet, you have to abide by the watercolor timing, because if you wait till later, it's not going to work. So look at that. I'm just picking up a bit of purple. Okay, a bit of purple. Dry off the brush. Okay, and this is what you can do. You can get in some clouds. Okay, just feather some in like this. You don't have to do it, but sometimes I just like to take that opportunity if I feel like the sky needs a bit of extra something in it. And you will find that there are smaller clouds further down as well, so the clouds get smaller as you move down. And that's why I'll just a quick indication of some of these will be good. Not the end of the world if you don't get them in, but I like that one there. And because the paint is still wet, in the sky, all these clouds have a soft, fluffy look to them. Sometimes you get a bit of extra darkness on the base of the clouds. We do get a bit more underneath like that. So that's why I'm just dropping in a bit at the base of some of these clouds to emphasize them more. Really, the less you sort of fiddle around with the paper, the better. I think that's looking good. Once it starts looking good, I just leave it. Okay. We are just about done. We just have to put in some colors. So really just choosing the remaining colors and the remaining little details. And Nerida says, watching you draw today, we'll rewatch and paint later. I enjoy watching you work and how you draw your buildings and people. Awesome. Yep, you can watch it later. Nerida as well. Okie dokie. Yeah, so Green Rumor, you can just use a normal pen and it takes longer, but color in a section to create these larger shadows. And here I've used that thicker pen because it's faster, but I know a lot of artists that just use the same pen and they hatch and they just scribble away to get in those darks. It does take a bit longer. It's more of a convenience thing. And I'm just going through and having a look. Yvonne says, going well. I've re-sketched it, but closer to the houses, gave me the confidence dead vehicles. Enjoying the looser style from Jessica Meldrum. Awesome. And palette's good. Great. Let's have a look. What else do we have? Yvonne Bauer says, oh, you guys are 40 plus degrees. Damn. People often go over. A few of my mates went over to Queensland to escape the cold weather a couple of months ago. But it's real hot. I'm from WA over in Perth, and yeah, I think in one summer it got to 42 something degrees. Couldn't even leave the house. Keith says, "Wow, Darren, I'm just now tuning in due to the terrible storms here in California. Can't wait to paint this in the morning." All right. Hope you do all right there, Keith, and yeah, tune in later on. It's complete opposite weather here. Usually it's probably opposite. Super stormy here in Melbourne. Miserable weather. We color in the boats and people. Yes, I will, Yvonne. Just trying to check the chats. And guys, if you are enjoying this video and my sessions, do me a real quick favor and share the video with your friends in Facebook groups, that kind of thing. It does help me out a lot to get these videos out and build an audience. So sometimes I find it just a bit tricky to get all these videos out. I want to spend more time actually painting, but it does really help me out a great deal. So like the video, share it. Let's put in some colors, guys. I've actually forgotten, but there's a little bit of a shadow here, not a shadow, but like a tiny bit of darkness on this ramp. Same, it's kind of to go with the the light source to the left. Underneath here as well, there's like a bit of darkness on the wall. Can you see that? A little bit of darkness kind of where it hits the ground, and I think we need to put that in. It's like a grounds it a touch like that. Okay, just grounds it a bit. We're not finished yet. I want to show you. Make sure you hang around till the end because I want to show you a really cool trick to get in these sails. Okay, now in the boats, you can see there's all these little colors and stuff. Bottom of them, it's hard to tell what color they are. They just look kind of darker. So I can just put in, little bits of line work here like that, little darkness like this with this flat brush. Drop that in, just get in a bit of that here. Some of the boats are actually like quite dark. Like that one there's, I don't know, it's actually more of a vibrant blue. Okay, like that. But I do want to make sure that the boats are still lighter than the water. Okay, we can get in a bit of orange or something. Why not get in a touch of orange for one of them? Like this one here, a little bit of orange. Okay, actually I'll leave the rest of them as they are. I don't want to fiddle around too much. And here we go, boats. Leave that one white in the background. Maybe we'll pick up some not cerulean blue, a bit of ultramarine blue to get in this one here. Light wash, mostly just water running through here. Mostly just water in this mix. Okay, like that. A little bit of the blue on the inside of the boat. Okay, once you got in that main wash, you can start to feather in darker bits in there. Okay, like this. In the right hand side of the boat, because again, we've got some kind of a shadow forming on that boat as well. So this purplish color. And of course, we've got all these shadows and things like that already from the figures, but let's go ahead and rejig this. In fact, there should be a bit more darkness in between the legs here. That's part of the boat as well. Okay, and here, like that. Okay, that boat. But the light cutting across that figure, I quite like that actually. Let's get in some more of this shadow color. It's just this is just some purple and a bit of black. For me, that creates a really dark value, makes it possible, okay, to get in some of these bits and pieces. Okay, like that. A lot of this stuff has already been done with the, what you call it, the pen work. But you can pick out, see underneath here, these little rocks and things like that. You can just pick out some tiny bits like this. That could be a rock. This could be a rock, and just carry that over and create some contrast and things like that. Look at how quick you can do that. And we'll also introduce a bit of gouache afterwards. So hang around till the end, because that's where you can really make things start popping out and looking very, very dramatic indeed. So there we are, just a bit of that. Boat in the background. What color should we make it? Maybe some orange? Then we'll go back to blue or purple again for this one. Oops, too dark, like this. All right. Really just being mindful of the colors, how dark I'm going as well. Okay. Let me just have a quick look at the stream, how the stream is doing. Okay, yeah, sometimes the stream does go a little bit blurry depending on the depending on the bit rate, but I hope it's looking okay at the moment. Drop that little cog in the bottom right hand corner of the screen, and you might be able to change it to a more a bit better resolution. Select 720p or 1080p, and got a super chat. Thank you, a super chat from Green Rumor. I appreciate it. Thank you so much for your support, and I'm glad that you found my channel as well, because I think I just these days I do mainly lives. So I'm thinking of doing shorter videos, just some pre-recorded shorter videos, maybe top 5 tips that I've learnt on that helped me when I started out painting, things like that. But most of my scenes are just done live, so we appreciate it. And yeah, let me know how the chats are not the chats, the stream is going, guys. I think the video quality is looking fine to me. I'm just based on the statistics on my end, but I know for some of you, yeah, it can vary when you're streaming. Loretta says 44 degrees Fahrenheit, so 6.7 degrees Celsius in Oregon. Jeez, that's real cold. Okay, thanks, Kathy. Okay, so I was just putting on a bit of color for this this figure. I'm just going on with more sort of color on the right hand side of the figure, and that's to indicate more of the shadow. Yeah, just on the right hand side. Okay, like this. That bit of that shadow there. Let's put in a bit of red and a bit of like white for the just some general skin tone there. You can also use a bit of brown there if you want as well. A bit of blue and a bit of brown, depending on what kind of skin tones that you want to get in there. So something like that. Okay. The background, I do think some of these houses just look a bit kind of. I feel like I could put in some windows and things here. Yeah, make them look more interesting. Just a quick thing like that, quick little indication. I forgot to get in the rooftop of this one as well. There's some darkness here, bit of dark color like that. Okay, there. What else? What else can we do? What else can we do in here? Really, from now on, it's just bonus stuff. I mean, you can put in some darker trees and things up here to create extra contrast with the, with the houses and stuff. So you can do things like that. Okay. But yeah, having variations, some tonal variations in here helps. I wonder if you should just put in some. Let's put in some little birds or something in the sky. And I'm going to pick up some of this darker color and just put in a few of these birds. And the way you do it is create these little kind of two marks, like for the wings, that join together. Okay, like that. And just get them in, because we're near a coastal sort of area, so it would make sense that we have some birds in here. Some people don't like these, but I find that they help to connect the scene up. They connect the sky with the background here. Okay, now here's the bit that I really want to show you, so stick around for a second. Now, you might not have access to this stuff at the moment, but I did forget to put it in there. I might have put it in the description, I can't remember. White gouache, so this is a great little color that allows you to get in some final highlights, and I'm going to be using this to get in the sails of the boats, just some finishing touches, okay? Some little finishing touches. And also, guys, if you are not part of our Facebook group, check in the video description. There's a Facebook group. It's facebook.com/group/watercolor mentor, and you can actually upload your finished painting afterwards and get some get some feedback from the group and meet everyone else in there. So it's a great thing, I think, having a community that you can paint together and help motivate each other. Goes a really, really far. Sometimes it's hard to meet people who have the same interests as you. So I know it is for me. So the next best thing is, having some people online, some friends online that you share some common interests with, and you can hype each other up. Okay, so this is just a bit of this white gouache. It's an opaque white paint. And look at this. I'm just going to go in. Double check this. I'll use a rigger brush, actually. It's going to be just a bit easier. And I can just go in and, for example, get in this kind of indication there for the sail. This one here, it's not the sail, it's the mast, there as well. Look at that, just a quick one like this. That one's kind of a bit wonky, but doesn't matter. Like this. Should have stuck with this brush to begin with. That. And this is how you can bring out some tiny little details. Okay, like that on the boats, and bring out that white. I want one on this one. Yeah, maybe just put it on there. Some of the light hitting the left side of the boat as well. You can get that back in there if you've lost it. Gouache is just a great little trick, and as long as you use it sparingly, you're all good. You could even put in some other boats that weren't there initially, like here. Look a tiny boat here in the background here. Okay, a bit more there. Let's have a look maybe here on the side of that boat. These figures, a touch of gouache on them as well. On the head for the light, okay, and the left hand side of that figure, like that. Check that out. Tiny bit of, just a bit of the light like this. Magical. What I want to do as well is mix a little bit of yellow in there. Yeah, a little bit of yellow. Yellow into the gouache, and that will just create a little kind of like a warmer version of the gouache. And we can do things like this. Look, we can put in some elements of the rocks, some highlights on them. Okay, more yellow. Look at that, just kind of a bit of light on the left hand side like this. You don't have to do it, but you don't have to do it for all of them anyway. But I just like to, for the end stage, do something like this. Helps, and I'll actually go in with some of with a little bit of darker paint as well. But it helps to bring out these rocks and make them look more like rocks. Look at that, just touches of this lovely color. Some of them look more like that one there. Look how vibrant that one is. Depends how much yellow paint you use in it in relation to the to the white gouache. Okay, you remember you're putting this on the left hand side of these rocks. Okay, left hand side. Great little trick, and makes it look like there's little details and things in here, and you can just sort of spread these around. You can use this brush and just spread a few of these little bits and pieces around on the beach. I mean, it's not really a beach, but I've kind of turned it into one, haven't I? Like this. Okay. maybe it does look like this and sometimes some parts of the year. Okay. Now back to those darker colors. Just going to pick up some purple, a little bit of purple, and while that gouache is still sort of wet, you know, hopefully I can get in a bit of this shadow that will just join on. Okay. That some of it already is in there and looks great, so don't touch that. Just some parts where you want to fix up or whatever. You can actually add that in, and you'll be surprised at how much it makes a difference. I love doing these tiny little details. I get so so into it, but only at the end though. When I sort of start out doing the watercolor painting, the last thing I want to do is focus on all these tiny little details. But as a finishing touch, it just takes your painting to another level. So look at that. A bit of hair in for these figures. Bit of hair. Like that. Some more shadows on the right hand side of them. Touch and go. Ooh, forgot to put in a bit of darkness here as well. You do get these little bits that you miss out from time to time, and just address them as you go. Okay. All right, so let's take off the paper. Let's take off the paper and see what we have got, guys. Let me know how you've gone in this session. I'd love to hear what you thought of this particular scene and how I went in terms of explaining everything as well. If there's some way that I could do it better next time, I'd love to hear that bit of even constructive criticism or whatever, because that helps me to make sure that the next ones are even better. Okay. But let me know how you went, and if you're still working on it as well, if you've got questions, I'm here to answer your questions. Here's the finished, line and wash painting. Let me just zoom in, touch like that, and I'm actually fairly happy with this because you've got a nice, sense of light. Taken an image which is very complicated, simplified it down. I could have done those buildings a bit better for sure. I think for this demonstration though, we've covered all the elements, the buildings, we've added in some people, we've changed the composition around to add in some boats. We've had that nice element of light coming in from the left to the right. There's a lot of things I change in the reference photo quite significantly. And it's something that you have to decide when you're whenever you're painting anything, because it's very hard to get a reference photo that fits what you want in your mind. And I think part of the fun of watercolors and painting is making something your own. Let's have a look here. So Yvette's saying, great session, beautiful painting, made it seem so simple. Thanks, Yvette. And I'm glad to hear that you got so much out of it. So guys, I want to spend a little bit of time talking about a course program that I have. It's an ongoing program that I've had running for over a year now. But yeah, if you have enjoyed this video, please share this around on with your friends and on Facebook or whatever. It does help me, really helps a great deal. I appreciate you guys being here and spending your time, your evening, just watching me paint, and I did my sort of doing my best to explain my entire process with you. I did promise that if you hang around to the end, I'll show you some of my new paintings that I've done recently. So I've done some street landscapes that I'm going to be turning into a course, adding them onto my main program that I put in the description. So this is one of Melbourne. I've got paint all over the desk, but this is one of Melbourne that I did recently. And this one took about maybe 1.5 hours to 2 hours. Okay, very similar process, but there's a way that you do it in watercolors to make sure that everything joins on nicely together. And it's a bit different from line and wash because you don't have the structure of the pen in there. This is another one. This is based on a photo that I took in the UK. This is in London somewhere. I'm not sure what it is. I think this is some kind of bar. I didn't put the name of it up the top there. But as you can see, I really love having vibrant colors and a strong sense of light and darkness. Making sure that it makes sense where the light source is, and it pops. Everything just pops. And using complementary colors as well, a good sense of light of things like yellow and purple together. Something that I enjoy doing. Here's another one. Also recently I've been spending more time because one of the things people have asked for is maybe some more detailed paintings. So this is what I've been trying to accomplish lately, just taking your feedback on board and giving you some different material for these courses. So all of these I've recorded and will make available on my Patreon and also on my 70 course program. But you can see here as well, this element of light and dark. And this one only took about maybe 40 minutes to do, okay? And it took me a long time to figure out an efficient process to paint everything in. And as I said, I'm not a very patient person when it comes to painting. So I've, in a weird way, that's helped me to come up with a process that makes it more efficient. So, getting that light in, one big wash, drying it, and then getting all the darks in at the same time. So you're not fiddling around again and again. So here's a few more. Here's a few more that I've got in here. This one is of Madrid, I think, there. And we've got this one in here as well. So a lot of you have asked for street scenes. You like my street scenes, and I love doing street scenes as well, actually. So this will be part of the new videos that I'm going to be editing and putting online. So if you want to see them, join up for my Patreon. The link is in the description. There's tons of videos in there as well. There's I think about 70 courses. If you look at the top tier and the bottom tier, the entry level tier, I think there's about 20 something courses. So you can join in, have a look at those if you're interested. But if you want access to all of my courses and also some of my future courses as well, make sure you check out my main program. It's that 70 course program that I was talking about before, and I'll run a quick little demonstration on it for those of you who are still around. Just a quick little glimpse of what you get in there. So just bear with me. I'm going to change the stream a little bit so that you can see it. Okay. I mean, my computer is pretty slow when I've got all these windows opened up at the same time. For some reason, it just freezes up. So these are just some of the scenes that are included in it. And I want to show you just some of the paintings that I've done that I started out. If you look at that one here, I mean, pretty basic. And I was really frustrated at the start because I didn't have a process to follow. I was just kind of spinning my wheels, went online, went on YouTube, looked up a few videos, but I found that a lot of them were just sped up and didn't have enough detail, didn't explain. The instructors weren't explaining what they were doing, why they were doing it, the consistency of paint, how they were using their brushes. And, I think that level of detail is something that's quite unique in the way that I teach. I try to while I'm doing something, carrying out a technique, I'm showing you how I'm doing it, in terms of what's the proportion of paint, what specific color it is, how I'm moving my brush, why I'm doing it in terms of maybe I'm creating contrast, maybe I'm creating softness, the timing as well, why I'm doing that particular technique at this particular time. Maybe the paint has to be a certain level of dampness or wetness. So, those little things may not seem like a lot, but they actually make a huge difference. And a lot of people, instructors, will leave that stuff out specifically, and just go on and do their own thing, because when you're painting for such a long time, a lot of time you just don't really think about what you're doing. It just works. But when you sit down, for me anyway, when I sat down and just thought about what I was doing, I thought to myself, well, actually, I'm doing that at this particular time because the paint's not going to run, and I'm using this proportion of paint. So, yeah, that's kind of my take on things. And at the end of the day, when we paint, I think we want to feel good, and I look at it as an enjoyable activity, something that really takes my mind away. There's nothing else that I can think of really that maybe a couple of things, but it takes my mind away completely in the moment. I can't think of anything else, and painting is one of those things. And you know, when you're not sure what you're doing, it's hard to feel confident and relaxed when you paint. So, if you check out my course, this program that I have running, I have a process that I follow with all of my paintings, and I utilize that process in different ways depending on the subject. And this will help give you a goal and an indication of going in the right direction, knowing what you're doing. Even if it doesn't work out exactly as planned, you know the steps that are required to achieve that end result. And at the end of the day, you'll be able to show off some beautiful paintings to your friends and your family. I think also connecting to your creative side is such an important thing in this day and age. I mean, a lot of people struggle to find kind of hobbies and kind of be consistent with them as well. And we have a really large community. Everyone posts their work and helps each other out. I think being part of a community really makes a big difference in terms of getting, improving, getting your paintings, in on a consistent basis, and that's how you improve. When you're doing it by yourself, it's really tricky, and so that's why I do these live shows as well, because it's really motivating. It's motivating for me. It's motivating for you guys, and often you can go to these art classes, art schools, and you pay a whole heap of money. I mean, people go to art schools and they pay like $50,000 or something for a degree, and they end up not getting that value out of it. And so, yeah, this is an ongoing sort of program that I have. So you got 70 courses included. I'm going to keep adding courses onto that program. At some point, I'm going to create a separate one because there's so much material in here. I really think I'm just giving it away for too cheap. And so that's part of the thing I'm trying to figure out at the moment. But in the meanwhile, you can take advantage of this opportunity and sign up, get access to everything that I have, and I'll keep that for you, for those of you who do end up signing up. So like I mentioned, you get 70 courses, and it started out with about 20 something when I combined them all together. Unlimited instant access, so there's definitely something in there for everyone. I've got a whole bunch of scenes. This is one of them here. It's a little lighthouse scene. Hundreds of hours of paint long demonstrations, and you also get the ads-free version of these workshops. The good thing is you can learn at your own pace as well. So, for those of you who, are pretty busy in life, can't make it to all these sessions, you can pause, come back to it, watch it in your own time, and keep replaying it as many times as you need. And they're similar to how I run them here, but in more detail. So I narrate them in real time. I can just concentrate more in those videos because there's nothing else going on. It's just me painting. Whereas in these sessions, I'm answering questions and stuff like that. So I find that those are a little bit more personalized. So
here are a few scenes. I think you've seen some of these already. I've kind of went through and put some of them on before. I just showed you on camera, but these some of the scenes are included, and there's, this is only some of them because I don't want to add all of them in there. We'll be sitting here all day, but most of the courses have multiple videos in them, and they have the themes, so Australian landscapes, house and building portraits. That's one that's quite popular. I think one of my most popular courses. If you're looking to learn how to draw and paint a specific building, that might have some personal meaning for you. That's one that was suggested by one of my students, Keith. That's of a holiday photo. Let me go back to it again. That one here that he took over in Italy, Lecce, I think. It's more sort of loose scenes, and most of these scenes don't take more than an hour. They're about an hour to do. There's more line and wash, more vibrant stuff in here as well. But the more recent work that I'm doing is very, I would say, more detailed than my previous work, because I think I want some additional just some variation in my style in there for those of you who want to spend extra time and understand how to get in those little details. That's what I'm going to be adding on. And line and wash is one of those, one of those mediums where you can actually get in extra detail if you spend the time doing it. Watercolors does take more effort, I think, in my opinion, but with the line and wash, you're just spending a lot of time drawing, and that pen work is going to show through. So here are a few more. You can just see I've also got portraiture courses on there. I do some portraiture as well. So if you want to learn a bit of that, it's another demonstration I did in the past. Here are a few more, bits and pieces that I've done. This one here is Charles Bridge. This one's in Venice Beach. This one's London. Not sure where this one is. I think that's in New York. Another line wash tutorial. Even some florals if you're looking to learn some how to paint florals. These are some of the comments and the feedback from my students, and I teach on different platforms as well, so you can, don't take it from me in terms of my teaching and things like that. I mean, you've obviously attended this session, so you know my style of teaching, but here are a few sort of reviews. So I consistently get high reviews online for these courses, and always give feedback to students when they need it as well. So if you do sign up for my program today, there are a few bonuses that you get. So 2 months from the date that you register, so from today, I'll give you personalized feedback. So you can message me directly. You can you can post in the group and I'll get back to you, or you can just message me directly. I include my personal email address, so you can send through your paintings. And that's, I think, really great value, because when you are doing something for the first time or learning something initially, you can save so much time by having someone experienced tell you whether you're going in the right direction, what you need to improve on, because it's very hard to tell at the start how to progress. It's kind of like learning a new sport or something. You just don't know whether you're holding the racket the right way or this and that. And that feedback is really important, helps you improve fast, and stops you from becoming frustrated and giving up. That's the last thing I want for anyone to do, because you've got such a beautiful medium and such an enjoyable activity that to give up and not realize that you actually do have the potential to create these beautiful paintings. But it's just something I really like to get through and impart. So what was I saying again? Yeah, so you get to think like me. And how I structure a painting. And let's have a look at what else is included. So you get access to a private watercolor group as well. This is the Watercolor Mentor Academy. So this is a lifetime membership. So you basically join up, and here you can get just tailored feedback from me. So just ask me in this group. So even after the 2 months of individual feedback it's gone, I'll still get back to you anyway. I just do it mostly in this group. Okay. So you get priority support for your questions. So it's ongoing access, and I don't know any other program that offers this, and especially with so many courses and bits and pieces in there. So That's why I really think it's a great deal. Check it out in the description. There is a link there in the video description, and you can join up. You can actually join up there and have a look at it as well. Patreon allows you to access all of my courses too, if you want to check it out there um, and go from that, sort of like a month to month membership as well. That's possible. And like I mentioned before, you get access to all these previous live workshops, which I add on there ads free. So in terms of the cost, so it's $297 for the entire package. Now you get unlimited access, and in terms of a lot of what I find is that a lot of artists, they don't give lifetime access only because the platform that they upload their videos on potentially might close down, or they might change their mind on running a program or something like that. Okay, so in this particular case, I mean, in the unlikely situation that the platform does disappear or something, I've got so many other platforms that have the ability to store these videos. I can just switch over and give you the details for that. That's the main reason I think a lot of artists don't offer lifetime membership. But like I said, you get unlimited access to everything in there, and you also get the 2 month support, private group access. I think it's great value for the amount of courses and the amount of learning that you get in there as well. So if you're interested, just drop a message in the chats, and just type enroll in the chats. I can send you the link for it. You can also just check out the link in the video description. It's all in there if you want extra feedback on the course. If you have questions as well, just let me know. So these are a few of my little comments and testimonials from students that I've added in there. So let's go back to the main scene, and I want to address some questions while you guys are here. Let's just move some of these paintings away. These are bigger, by the way. These are A3 sized, so like twice the size of the painting that we did today, the line and wash painting today. And these are just pure watercolors as well. So, the line work isn't really visible. You're using that watercolor to get in all the details in there. Okay. I'm going to probably do another one. We'll try to do another one later this evening, and record that one as well. So I'm just having a look. Let's see the questions. Sorry, I'm just going to move this chat window up. It was just a bit obscured before, to make sure I've got everyone's questions addressed. I think I've lost the YouTube window. It's disappeared on me somewhere. Oh, here it is. Alrighty. Okay, okie dokie. Yvonne says, second what Yvette type. Love your new paintings. Great urban scenes. Thanks, Yvonne. And, I wanted to do something different for you guys. I wanted to make sure that I've got some much more detailed stuff in here. It's kind of like the portraiture courses that I have on, much more detailed. And if you want to spend a couple of hours doing them, I'll show you that's sort of what you can expect. Lily's asking, how much is the price of the course, and are you the instructor? Yes, so that this is completely by me. So I'm the instructor in this. So these are all my courses, basically the entire collection of my courses for the past 2 years, or so. It's $297 US, and it's you get lifetime access as well. So I'm actually trying to reply to your message, but for some reason on Facebook it doesn't let me do it when I click reply on the. But I'll just drop the link in the comments so you can have a look at that. You can have a look at that, Lily. I know you've come along to my sessions for quite some time, so if you're looking for something more in depth and want some personalized support from me, I think this is a really good option. considering that a lot of people pay for these courses a few $100s for even like three or four lessons in person. This is an ongoing thing, and there's so much material in there in different ways that you can approach different subjects of the ones I've tackled over the years anyway. So yeah, that's the link, Lily. I've just popped it into the comments, and yeah, if you have questions, just let me know. I've got a super chat from my Grace Cottage. Thanks for joining, and thank you so much for the support, and the super chat really means a lot for me. How did you find my channel? I'm not sure if I've seen you here before, but I really appreciate you being here. And Green Rumor says, I'm only just beginning, but have a lot of hope. Yeah, I mean, if you saw my painting in the beginning of that little presentation, I was drawing stick figures. And I had no idea what I was doing. I was almost at the point where I was throwing the towel, and I have this ability to just knuckle through things. But if I didn't have that ability, I probably would have given up. And I think a lot of people in the beginning, they give up too early with watercolors because it's a medium which is notoriously associated with not being able to control a lack of control, because you've got a lot of water just running around, bits and pieces mixing together. When you're using acrylics, when you're using oils, you find that whatever you put in the page, it just stays there. It's static, unless I don't know, unless you've got it, even if you paint oils with the thing hanging upside down, it still stays there. It sticks on like glue. But with watercolors, it just moves around. It's got a life of its own. But learning how to control that and use that to your advantage and get some of these beautiful gradations and things like that in, you can make amazing paintings, and in a fraction of the time that you can paint an acrylic or oil painting. That's one of the reasons that also drew me to watercolor painting. I've done oils and I've done acrylics before, and the process in painting an oil painting can be very, very laborious. It can take months, even depending on the complexity of the work. So watercolors, I think, is just an amazing medium. I can bring it around with me. It's portable. If you're traveling, if you're out sitting outside on a bench, you can carry a little palette with you in your backpack, a little sketchbook, and you can do a painting. I mean, there's nothing better than it. And watercolors once upon a time was considered a fugitive medium. The paints would not last. They would be affected by sunlight, things like that. But the paints and the paper, the quality these days is fantastic. I mean, if you frame it well, you store them well, it can last as long as an oil painting. So I think there's never a better time to get started. So my Grace Cottage says, so vivid, awesome color choices. Thank you. And one of the things I do is that I really make sure I'm using contrasting colors. So if you look in the background, a lot of these bluish colors, these cooler colors, right? And then in the fore, and then here in front, I've got this warmth. The warmth sort of just fades in at the start. Okay, and that's the trick, using the right proportion of warm and cool colors. Look here, we've done that as well with the blue on the water and the yellow here. That's what creates that vibrancy, the opposition of those two colors, and then also the tones. So understanding the mixture of colors and spending enough time on your palette to mix up that correct proportion. Okay, if you use too light of a mix here, if you use too much water in this black mix here, it's just going to look weak, and it's not going to look like there's much shadows in here. Okay, that's something to do at the back here, because I'm pushing back those shadows. I don't want these shadows to be as dark as these ones, so I've used more water there. Okay, and so that is more of a background, looks more of like a background. Here I've probably gone too dark, but it's pushed these in the background, and the focus is on here. Okay, so it kind of leads the viewer's eye in, all these shadows, the increasing size of these rocks as you move down to the front. It kind of leads the eye in. That was my I don't know, my goal here. Okay, this kind of motion, this eye movement, and that's part of composition as well. Carmen says, wow, they're wonderful paintings. Thank you, Carmen. I'm editing these, and hopefully they'll be done soon. Lily says, "Thanks, Darren. Would you leave that page on your page to join another day?" Yep. So you can join. You can join another day, Lily. But I have made these. You know, I make this basically this little special for the just for the workshop. I take it off after a couple of days and raise it up to the usual price. Yeah, just so that it gives people an opportunity to get a better deal on certain times of the month. So you can always enroll later, but yeah, if you sign up straight away, you get that. You get it for $297. Jan says, "I love this one. You've done everything about it. Great. I actually like it. And in terms of like the shadows, I like the rocks. Funny enough. Thank you, Jan. And how did you go with your version? Did you just watch along today, or did you give it a go? And this little sketch that I did before, this 2-minute sketch made a big difference. Funny enough, I actually like the composition of the sketch a little bit better in terms of the figures closer. I should have done one that was a bit closer, but you never know. You can always redo a scene, but even if you don't have your paints around with you, one of my biggest tips is to do drawings of stuff you see when you're going outside, or I don't know, you're at home, you got a reference photo. Do a quick drawing and work out the tones, work out the composition. Where do you want? Do you want people in there? Do you want to change the boats around? Is there too much going on here? Do we want to reduce those boats? Making those little decisions in your head really improves your watercolors so much. And all you need is a pencil and a bit of paper. I think when you're getting into watercolor painting, it's almost like this weird strategic battle, because there's so many things you have to keep in mind, because watercolors, it's difficult to correct mistakes. You can it's hard to get in, well, I think it's almost impossible to get in the light once you've eliminated that. So you have to plan out and remember to preserve lighter parts of the painting, so that later on down the track, they're still left in. Because often what happens is that we end up getting rid of too much of that color, too much of that warmth and the light in the scene, and we lose that sense of light and dark. So here, quite a loose little painting, but I've kept that light in here. It almost feels uncomfortable when you're painting in this big shadow. It's weird. You almost feel like you want to just color that bit in, but resisting that temptation and leaving that, it makes sense afterwards. It's something that you have to make sure you do. This was like a Venice scene. I've done this scene a few times, but this is a more detailed version. Same thing here. Look at the light. Look at the light in that painting. The usual price Lily is $497. So yeah, I've reduced it down. Like when you actually click into the link I gave you, it will reduce it down to 297. But normally on the page it's 497. Okay, I've got a few more questions in here. Let me just address some of my other chats. Oh, thank you. So Nerida's, thank you for sharing the video, Nerida. Appreciate it. And just let me quickly read up about all these. 3 more in here. Do you ever use your liners when your painting is dry? Richard's asking. No. So I only use it at the start. Yeah, I don't see a point in using them when the painting's... Oh, sorry, when your painting's dry. I don't know what I'm doing. So you're probably asking whether I go back into it afterwards. Sometimes, yeah, at the end of the painting, I might go back into it and, add more detail here and there, maybe some windows. So yeah, you can do that as well. Not a problem. I thought for some reason, I read that as if going into it while the painting is still wet. Turned out great. Thank you, Shanolan and Nerida. here as well. Claudia says, thanks, Darren. I've not finished, but found it very good tuition. I'll continue on to finish. Thanks, Claudia. And yeah, leave me a question in the comments if you need some help. Jackie says, great video. Do you also have a beginner's course? I also missed the beginning. What pen did you use to sketch? So this 70 course program is basically designed for beginners from start to finish. So there's a whole bunch of different ones in there. Some of them, for example, I've got a course on understanding tone, so understanding lights and darks as part of those 70. It's designed for beginners. Pretty much everything in there. So some of them are more complicated than others. So you might want to start with ones like line and wash, the house, house portraits course or something like that. If you want to also just see what's in there, want to get a glimpse of what's in there, you can sign up for my Patreon on one of the tiers, and you can access my courses there as well and figure out whether they're right for you. But yeah, all my students are pretty much beginners. I teach on a bunch of platforms. Jackie's also asking, what pen did you use to sketch? So I've used these kind of pigment liners. They're Etcher branded. And the only reason I use these is because I got them for free. They were sent to me by Etcher, but they're actually a great little product because there's quite a large range of nibs in there. Normally when you're looking at pigment liners, you get stuff like this. I mean, this one's good enough anyway, some Staedtler ones. Okay, but these ones just have some nibs that are quite thick and create some interesting shapes. So I think these are cool. I don't know how much they are now. I think they're about 50 to 60 bucks. But something like that is good as well. Even if you've just got a Uniball pen, those ones work well. And Daphne says, thank you so much for trying these free workshops. I think this is the third one I've tried. Once I tried to do one I tried to do while at work. Good on you, Daphne. And Lily's asking, how long is the course? So this the program Lily is actually there's 70 courses in there. So if I kind of estimate how many hours of video, I'd say there's a few hundred hours of video in there. So a lot in there, which is why at some stage, for people who sign up for it now, it's going to be great value for you. But at some stage, I'm going to split them up into smaller segments. But anyone who signs up now will still have access to all of the courses in there. So could you send me the details of the course, or could you send me the details? Yes. Let me just what I'll do, Lily, I'll just send you the front page of the course so you can have a look at what's included. If you scroll down, just check the chats, Lily. I'll post. I'll just add the link in here, and that's for the Watercolor Essentials program. And you can actually scroll down to the about mid to nearly end of the page, and it has a list of all the courses included in there. So there's a lot, quite a lot. And Serena says, not good medium for me. I have to stick to WMO paint. Thanks, Darren. Enjoyed your free lesson. Thank you, Serena. Really appreciate you supporting me and coming along to. So yeah, it's not for everyone. I think like line and wash is certainly it's a medium that is inclined. It's for people who like sketching, who like drawing, and also people who like detailing, because you have a lot of control over the pen work. Some people like to do most of their watercolor paintings in a very, very light wash and have the pen work or even the pencil work show through mostly. I see some watercolor artists that have work that's like that. It's just mostly pencil work, and the watercolors is almost like a secondary, an afterthought really, to get in some shadows, to get in a bit of color. Okay, so yeah, I like using it. I like using it from time to time. I think I'm more inclined towards watercolors, just pure watercolors, because I the more subtle variations in sharp edges and things is just something I appreciate, and I love the softness of colors and gradations, transitions as well. But yeah, I also like urban sketching. Urban sketching is great fun. You know, when I go on walks and stuff like that, I carry my sketchbook around, and you know, being able to sketch and learn how to sketch with a pen goes a great that does great for you if you want to learn watercolor painting and improve your watercolors, because you learn composition and you can get into painting, quick painting, very quickly. And yeah, so that's the link, Lily. So if you want to check it out, there it's watercolormentor.thinkific.com. That's the one. You can have a look at it and get details inside. And just let me know if you have questions. Questions too. I'll get back to you. Pamela says, "Thank you, Darren. Love these lessons." Thank you, Pamela. And Pamela is one of my students in the Watercolor Essentials program as well. And I've been really amazed at how many paintings you've created from these, Pamela. I think you've done, I don't know, you've probably done half of them already. So, but you've registered. I think you registered about a year or something ago. So I'm glad that you're enjoying the course, and that you're enjoying these live workshops as well. Let's have a look. I think I've pretty much answered all the questions in here. Let me just have a quick look. Okay, fantastic. So, thank you all for joining me today. And again, if you're watching afterwards and you have questions, just leave something in the chats, and I'll do my best to get back to you. Thank you all for coming, and I'll catch you next time. Joy says, "Thank you, Darren. I posted my work on my wall and tagged you." Thanks, Joy. Really appreciate it. And I want to have a look at how you did as well after this session finishes off. But appreciate you all being here. Thank you. I'm going to end the stream now.